What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute, guys, but I'm back and I want to make some new videos for you guys, sharing some of the coolest companies out there. I'm also going to do a small account challenge, $300 to $500, and we'll do weekly updates to let you know how we're doing. So if you want to be a part of that, consider subscribing. I appreciate you guys clicking and watching my videos. And let's get into it. So my first video back, I want to cover a company that's in one of my favorite sectors, and that is the sports betting sector. There are tons of companies out there, from the casino to the sportsbook companies, and even the ones that provide the data services, but I'll do a video on that separately. Today I want to share with you guys one company I came across, and I think it's very underlooked, especially since it's trading near the 52-week low. And that company is Pointsbet Holdings Limited. It's ticker symbol PBTHF. Now it is on the OTC, so you will need a big boy broker to be able to purchase this one, but I think trading at the 52-week low, this is an absolute steal. Now you guys may not have heard about PointBets. I only recently saw it because I downloaded the NBC Sports Predictor app and I noticed it said PointsBet, and I was just curious, so I started looking into this company, and it's actually really interesting. It currently only has a market cap of 1.45. And compare that to Draftkings and other companies, they have about 15 billion in market cap, so there is some room to grow. And also, I think we're in pretty early. It is over the counter, but the volume on this is only about 4,000 for today, with an average of 46,000. And that is very, very small. So once people start getting into this is gonna move. If you take a look at the current share structure, this one has an outstanding share of about 26 million and only 143 million in float. So there is about 60% free float and 40% held by institutional investors and insider traders. All right, and you might be saying, well, gee, why are you so interested in this company? There are plenty of Draftkings sportsbook companies out there. Well, a few months ago, I did make a video on sports media, and we were talking about how Penn State had a current stake on it. And then what do you know, a few months later, they actually ended up acquiring sports media, and that actually caused sports media stock to rise up. And so we found that around $1.20, and then after the acquisition was announced, it provided a great opportunity. And I think that could be the similar story with Pointsbet Holdings. They have a current stake of 6.27, and I think they could end up acquiring this at some point. And I'll tell you guys a little bit of why I think so later in the video. Let me just tell you a little bit about Pointsbet. Their main market started out in Australia, but since 2019 they actually been expanding it within the US, and they currently have operations across these multiple states, and have been doing very well with revenue growth year over year, as much as 159%. So this one definitely caught my eye. Like I said, there's very little volume on this one, so we're pretty much in early. I haven't seen a lot of videos on this one yet. So Barstool has different markets within some states. And most recently, there's been noted that they've been struggling with the market share. So they've been decreasing their shares from 23 to 13 and so on. And same thing with Pointsbet, right? But what if you were to combine both companies as an acquisition or a merger? And in my opinion, more likely of an acquisition, since Pointsbet is a much smaller company than Penn National, especially since Pointsbet has in-house technology, which at some point Penn National would be interested in maybe possibly acquiring. And you know how that goes, right? And like I mentioned before, Pointsbet already has market share within the United States, but today they announced that they have a new license in Virginia. So they're going to start beginning to offer sports wagering within Virginia as well. And this was actually done with an exclusive partnership, which just continues to help them grow as a company and grab market share. So talking about licensing, one of the biggest licensing that you can actually get in the States is probably going to be New York and California. So early in November, a couple of sports betting operators were applying for this, and they were approved or denied a few weeks ago. And guess who was on there? Pointsbet. So that is very bullish for me. Alongside these other large sports bettor operators, they were approved as well. And I want to scroll down to the article because guess who failed to get their licensing? Yes, Barstool Sportsbook and the Fanatics Sportsbook, right? The Scorebet also failed to get their licensing. So I think this is huge, since Penn National, aka Barstool, aka the Score, won't be participating in the New York market. They're going to have a lot of pressure in not participating and could possibly push up maybe an acquisition. So that is one of the reasons I'm very intrigued with Pointsbet, especially since if you take a look, they expect this stuff to launch around Super Bowl, which is probably the biggest football game of the year. So I think Penn State will definitely want to participate in that in some sort of way. So just something to kind of think about. Now, I don't want to make this video too long, but I did find a pretty old article. This is back in 2019. Penn National Gaming announced a strategic partnership with some of the leading sportbook operators. If you guess who those operators are, it's Draftkings, Pointsbet, The Score, and the Stars Group. Now the Stars Group I think is owned by Flutter Entertainment. I did some research on that, so that's a pretty big company I think. And then DraftKings is big on its own. And then of course the Score got acquired by Penn National. So definitely the only one that's left is Pointsbet, and I'm guessing Penn National was thinking Pointsbet would be a big competitor down the road, so they did partnerships and agreements multi-year. And fast forward to 2021, these guys are already penetrating multiple states. I also want to include that the years for term of agreements was 20 years for most of these, and only 10 I think for DraftKings. So the way I see it is DraftKings is a big operator, the Score's been acquired, and then the Star is a children of a bigger company. So the only one that's left is PointsBet, which could mean they either become a big player or they either get acquired. I think it's a pretty interesting theory. And so just moving over to a late October article where they discussed their financial results, it was revealed that a lot of the states that they operate in have lost their market share, even for a small margin. But same thing has happened for Penn National. And so this kind of reiterates that acquisition talk. In my opinion, it kind of reminds me of the Sprint T-Mobile merger that happened a few years ago. And that was done in order to be able to compete with the other big providers. And so I think since Penn National is lacking in some states, especially the one in New York, I feel the possibility of being acquired by a bigger name like Penn National is definitely in the picture. And then with that being said, they would definitely increase their market share as well as control more states that are legal. And also think about these companies have been very competitively trying to acquire companies. Like for example, DraftKings was trying to acquire Etain, Penn National acquired the sports, DraftKings went back and tried to acquire the Golden Nugget and successfully did that. So there is a lot of competition in trying to take this market share. And so PointsBet is one that I think could definitely be a middleman that's going to get consumed by a bigger player. And PointsBet's just highlighting the highly competitive environment that's presented with all the new operators. And one thing I do want to share is a comment from the CEO, Sam Sueno. One of his comments sat very well with me. He said something along the lines about MGM maybe taking a little bit of market share thanks to marketing. He also said PointsBet is not going to get caught up in the arms race on marketing. So that sat well with me because basically the company is not going to overspend. They're going to budget everything accordingly and only spend what they feel is appropriate. So the company spent less than 21 million on marketing, and that is likely quite some ways below the rivals DraftKings and Caesars. And they're definitely been doing crazy amounts of marketing. So for PointsBet to control their marketing and be able to control that and manage it very well, it gives me good signs of the company. He said, we'll spend an amount we are comfortable with and can return us a positive REI. And then he stressed the focus on the long term and specifically improvements for the product. And don't get me wrong, I love DraftKings. I think they're going to do great, but we're trying to get the next 10x multiplier. And just some of the metrics that they posted back in October was the Q1 2022 calls. They had 3-digit growth, 112% year on year to 263 million. That is pretty good. And then the gross revenue was up 3 digits as well, 197%, which is 22 million. And then he also commented on Arizona, which was very confident in them getting legalized at some point. All right, guys, so we'll wrap up with the chart here. It's currently at 553. It did go up, still near the 52-week low of 525. Actually closed 525 post market, which I don't think that's right, but still super cheap. We've filled this gap here, which was around $6, I believe. And so now we just need to find a bottom, which in my opinion could be around this 460, 440 area, especially because we got all this support here. And I'm being optimistic, but definitely manage your own risk. But I want to add that DraftKings is near a critical support as well. So if it can hold these levels and go back up in the positive direction, since DraftKings is one of the big faces of the sports betting market, then it could definitely carry the rest of the market up, especially if you take a look on the daily. DraftKings is near oversold. I think a lot of buyers are going to start stepping in, and hopefully that helps a lot of the other sports betting stocks as well as PointsBet. Well, guys, that's all I have for today's video. Let me know what you guys think about PointsBet. I think it's looking pretty good so far. I got to do some more research, but it definitely does look good, especially since we're not going to buy near the top. We're definitely getting a good discount at these prices, but it could be a good time to start maybe a position. If you guys like what you see on the company, definitely do your own research. And again, let me know your thoughts. I hope to hear from you guys in the comment section. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Boom!